Horror does something to audiences that no other genre is capable of doing. It makes you think, it makes you scared, it makes you want to watch but not want to watch. There's certain elements of horror that only work in that world, and they work on an audience in a way no other genre can possibly do.
Horror movies always have sound is more in the forefront than other styles like drama. This film in particular, because of its slow-moving dread, allows me to do two of the things I really like. The little tiny details, you know, somebody's boot on some gravel, and it also the crazy cool sound design stuff like the violence and the psychological terror, and all of those quick, jumpy moments that horror sometimes has.
The sound you hear in the soundtrack is supposed to reflect the emotional moment that's going on. But what's going on emotionally for these characters is so far removed from the world that's happened. I mean, it's so far past the destruction of so many lives that it really is not known to them what music sounds like. So they're hearing it kind of like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, and it just exists in their memory. They don't have any idea about melody, and they've never heard a band play, because if they did, zombies would attack them. So it's probably not a good idea to make a lot of noise. So the idea is to bring in the sound design and the sound together in the way maybe was in Apocalypse Now or THX 1138 or the works of Walter Murch, where they act as one to bring in this really destroyed world on top of this really kind of aching musical composition.
The first thing I do when I get something like this script is to get a feel for the narrative and what the author was trying to do, and I talk to the director about why he likes the script, and then I read it again with the sound elements in mind to see whether the author had intentionally or unintentionally put some important sound moments into the film, or to see if anything jumps out as being obscure that I might need to track down, and then I try to do that legwork while they're shooting so that it's ready when it's time for post.
Storytelling is a big part of music, and it's really paid off for me as I moved into film scoring, because I can really get a sense of the dramatic nature of what's going on and construct a piece that kind of has a beginning and a middle and an end, and maybe even some unusual paths that goes down. But the point is to get across this idea that's John's idea of it being a kind of a broken sound. And I think my background in experimental music and pop music will combine to give a very fresh look. You know, I have my own studio at home, and in that studio there's a lot of different instruments. But synthesizers are always kind of the baseline, and they're really old synthesizers, like ones that don't quite work right, kind of fire weird when you play them. So I always kind of try to start with that, because even if I use the melody on something else, at least I've been able to create something that is even hard to replicate. So if I like it, it's very hard to do it twice. You know, actually, the best part of scoring is when you actually come upon what you will use as the theme, because then you can start to break it down. Theming is such a huge part of film scores. And I think a lot of films, if you remember from the last 10 years, I don't think anybody can sing the theme song from The Avengers. You know, I don't want it necessarily, you don't have to have it be a Burt Bacharach thing, but you gotta remember at least something about that score. And I think The Exorcist or Halloween or any of those, they come to mind. You remember those. So trying to find something for Chrysalis that's memorable. Now, we didn't have a lot of time on the trailer, so we hope to expand on it in the full production. But finding that theme is always a great moment of light and joy. So just to share with everybody, this is my Zombie, the Italian version of Dawn of the Dead, imported CD. Can you see that okay? Because the main part is it's signed by Ken Foray, the star of Dawn of the Dead, the 1978 one, the better one. So if you guys want to listen to some Goblin, just donate $25, come on down to my house, we'll have a Goblin listening party, and listen to the Zombie soundtrack signed by Ken Foray. Sounds great.